Oh my God, we got a great one for you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and all in between. Fred, my brother, how you
Hello,
doing?
my rock and roll buddy.
So you brought me a little gem here. Holy crap,
I'm so proud of myself.
dude! You know,
We're both super pumped for this interview because we both listened to this album and we both at the same time almost said, "Holy fuck, this is an amazing
oh my
album and
God,
band."
right? So I have to kiss their ass and tell them how great they are to their face. So Leo Unamark, I hope I pronounce your last name right, and Parker Halub, I hope I pronounced your last name right as well. Ladies and gentlemen, the geniuses behind Wings of Steel. Leo on vocals, Parker on guitar. What's up, guys?
Hey guys,
Going.
All right, so I'm gonna get my I'm gonna get that out of the way first. Okay, so on the record, uh, we cover like albums like Hotel California, Appetite for Destruction, Van Halen 1, Back in Black, Operation Mindcrime, Revolver by the Beatles. And it was like, okay, these are going to be like really great albums, classic great albums. And 20 years from now, people are going to come and watch this and they're not going to know that this is your first album. I didn't know who you guys were a week ago, and you are now my favorite heavy metal band. Like, holy shit. So you guys did a great job, man, and thank you. Me and Fred both were talking, and I said, we haven't had this reaction since we listened to fucking Queensryche EP back in 80, like I got that excited. So congrats, man. You guys fucking brought it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us. It's a pleasure being here, and it's great hearing those words.
Oh my God. And Leo, you are in Sweden right now. Parker's in the Thousand Oaks, California. So did you write this album distance? Or are you together when you wrote it, or is it a lot of
No, we were sort of, but no. So I say sort of because we're musicians, and whenever we're near an instrument, or I guess in Leo's case it doesn't really matter, but we're always coming up with riffs and ideas and melodies and sections, and that never stops. That's a constant thing, but yeah, it doesn't really become Wings of Steel until we both sit down, probably in this room right here that I'm sitting in, and we just say, all right, cool, dude, I got this riff. And he's like, that's a cool riff, man, but we should change this. So I'm like, no, I really like that part. Let's change this other thing instead. And then we write something completely different.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's all about the compromise, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just we just merge our two worlds.
Yeah. It's the ebb and flow. It's the creative, when you're collaborating with someone, that's what it's supposed to be about.
Yeah.
That's what makes it great. And it's really sad. Like sometimes you see people and they'll have a, one hit and all of a sudden they bring in all these songwriters and it totally loses what they're all about. You know what I mean? What are you doing? You don't need songwriters. Your song was amazing,
I think it's a very easy process for me and Parker when we get together to write. Actually, it flows really easily. We're very good friends, so a compromise, just like you say, with us, it's never a bad thing.
Yeah, it's a conversation. It's a musical conversation. That's all it is. Hey, next thing you know, you're talking about aliens, and then you go to a library. It doesn't matter, but that journey to get to the library from the alien subject or whatever it is, that's what makes it. Dude, I'm so excited about your band. You have no idea. So I went on YouTube. Fred sends me a text, and I was like getting to it. We do like 6 different shows a week, so I'm like, okay, I got this to do. This is on my to-do list. I got to listen to Wings of Steel, and I get this text from Fred, and this is great. Hold on here, I had it. He's like, just listen to Wings of Steel album, and it's fucking amazing. I'll start working on some questions for Thursday. I'm like, right on, I have it on queue right now, about to listen. Hour later, holy shit! I go, I'm on to the Sun, track 3. These guys have got it. Wow, this band kicks some serious ass. So I went on YouTube and went to their playlist, whatever it was. It said full album. So I actually listened to a couple of songs from your EP. So I want to get those out of the way first. So the first song I heard from the EP was let me give you my one last note. Dude, holy shit at fuck yeah. And then listen to Rhythm of Desires, dual guitar open, another badass groove in the pocket right away again. I love a heavy foot, a more relaxed vocal in the first part of the verse, power in every syllable, great screams. The rhythm section's tight. The solo again is just amazing, and the breaks in the song rock. Like you guys, there's no fat in your songs. Like there's nothing, when you listen to something, you're like, oh man, if they only put this, we need more cowbell. Like if they only put there's none of that. I've listened to the album 4 times already in like 2.5 days. Just unbelievable. So who produced your album?
Well, I guess this is actually kind of an interesting thing. I guess technically we produced it because we went and recorded we wrote everything, all the music. Right. We recorded everything ourselves except for the drums, and then we went to the studio with the drummer and we went and did all the recording there, and then we had our guy mix it, and then we're like, okay, turn this up, turn this down,
right,
less of this, more of this, so on and so forth. So in that sense, we technically produced it. But if you're thinking like in terms of like a mix and master, that was done by Mr. Damien Renaud. So
right on. You guys did a great job, man. Like holy shit, like the production is great. There's no dips. Everything lives in its own space. You let your songs breathe, and then you come in and rip our face off with the solo that isn't show off, but it's exactly right for this. You guys have everything right for the songs, and a lot of bands now, I don't hear that. Everything sounds, I like to hear a little, maybe that song, maybe that string's a little bit out of tune. Maybe the drummer's just a little bit off, or that note, and then you come in, Leo, and you're doing a high note, and then you come in and you're like, whoop, and you're like, that son of a bitch. Like just when you think there's not more in that, you like give us a little more, like, yeah, and it's coming up as a singer and like having to sing, Queensryche and Talkin and Grim Reaper and that kind of thing. Dude, I mean, it's so refreshing to hear a voice like that and a guitar to match. Like we've been waiting for decades for you guys are a legitimate metal band. Like there's so many subgenres of bullshit, and you know what I mean? There's no European, like no offense to people in Europe, but that European metal sound, that just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, why stick to a singular pocket when you can wear the entire leather pant? You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'll say too is it's like, it's our thing is we don't try to, we see with a lot of other bands that we gotta get put into the same pocket with is you can kind of tell like, oh, they're going for like this sub style of metal, or they're trying to sound like this band and this band. And
right.
I think for us, it's we just kind of write the music we want to write, and it's all about that. It's not about the ego, and it's not about trying to please a record company or a certain thing or whatever. It's no, dude. We just do what we want to do, man.
That's a good note right there. I think the fact that we don't carry a lot of ego into it. That's a huge part right there, because then we do allow every single section to breathe and live its life out to its fullest, and before we move on and we do something else.
Right. And working on films and music videos and all types of shit over the years, it's like people are sometimes afraid. Like, don't be afraid. If you got something that'll make it better, right on. Like, tell me. Like, no one should be afraid of that. You know what I mean? But people start to get worried and they get, they start freaking out. Oh, maybe don't overthink it. Just try it. I mean, the worst thing is it doesn't work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing right there, because even coming off of the EP, you'll have a bunch of people wanting you to go a certain way, wanting you to do this, leaning more towards that, and when we wrote the full-length album, we didn't have any of that like getting to us. So we just wanted to do the exact same thing as we did when we sat down with our first release, which is whatever comes out of our assholes is going to be on the album, you know?
Right. Absolutely. And I can say you guys make beautiful shit.
Exactly. I was hoping you would say that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Would you guys say?
I was gonna make a joke about not only am I gonna kiss your ass, I'm gonna French kiss your ass, and I'd say, oh, maybe I won't say that. And thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Now we're on the same page. Now let's begin.
Go ahead.
Speaking of the EP, guys, listening to the 5 songs on there, that was a great album as well. But would you say that you got a little bit heavier on Gates than you did on the EP?
I would say we had more tracks on this album, and that's pretty much it. Because we did have some heavy stuff on the EP, but we had a limited amount of space where we couldn't really get everything out creatively. So with this, we were able to throw another 1,000 sections into this album, and inevitably some of them are going to come out sounding heavy because we do fuck with that shit.
Right. You know.
So then explain to me, Casman Riders on the EP. That was a very intriguing song. What was that all about? That was nothing.
We have a wide range of influences, and I think it's important for us, creatively and as musicians to say what we want to say, and that's still an aspect of our sound. And even though we didn't really do much acoustic stuff or anything in like that westerny kind of vibe on the album, it's still a part and aspect to our sound that's kind of important to us. So, but I will say that song is definitely it's proven to be like the odd man out on the EP, but and I think the average metal guy is probably like, what the fuck is this? But the people who get down with it, they're like, right, they know exactly where it comes from. So, and
it's interesting too. Is like I'm glad that you did EP first, because your EP is amazing. And back in our day, I mean, a lot of bands put out EPs, and people don't realize how much you learn from doing that EP. And then, okay, now it's time to do the album. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's stuff there. So you have people coming in with their first album, not learning those lessons. And now maybe not you guys, but other people for sure. Maybe half their album sucks because they didn't get the chance to do that.
Yeah. I think it might have been a blessing in disguise that we weren't able to afford more than 5 songs.
Right. I mean, because one of the greatest recordings of all time is Queensryche's EP. And, that made them. I mean, and holy shit, I still can't get, I got goosebumps from your album. It's so amazing to me. So how many songs did you write? How many songs did you write for this album?
10 songs. Everything that you hear on the album that's all. I mean,
that's amazing. So you didn't go, oh, these 3 didn't make it, these 2 didn't make it. Here's the thing about this too. So Leo, because he's from Sweden, and he can only be here in the U.S. for 90 days at a time. It's actually less than that, because if you pass that, they'll basically kick you out. So you don't want to. Yeah, you got travel and bumper time, and
we pretty much when we wrote Gates of Twilight pretty much the end of last July through it was like 10, I think we had like 10 weeks or something, July through sometime in September, I think. But yeah, so he was out here in 10 weeks, and we're like, all right, we're gonna we'll write an album's worth of material. Whether it's 8 songs or whether it's 13 songs, it doesn't matter. We'll just write what we write, and that'll be it.
Yeah.
You don't have filler songs on your album. Like, there's not a one filler song. Like, no. I'm like, fuck, how many did they not release? And I'm like, if this is all they wrote, fuck yeah. That's amazing. I mean, that's really.
I mean, I would say too, like, we only really like to write what's inspiring to us. And if you sit down and you say, okay, we need to write an entire album that just sounds like Painkiller, you're going to get creatively exhausted, because you might be able to dish out a couple tracks that are really killer in that style. But
Right.
then you're gonna have that's where the filler comes in, is when the creative inspiration's not there. But
Right.
for us, we're just like, fuck it, we don't have time to try to do it. Like, let's just, and I mean, we had a lot of ideas going into that we came up with individually too, but
Sure.
we just sat down, it's like, we're stoked on this, let's do this. We're stoked on this, let's do this. And
Right.
and we were like, if we'll get however many songs we get. And it worked out that we got 10, so that was cool. But
right.
yeah.
I'm hoping you got 10 more in you for another album.
Oh yeah.
Soon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and like listening to your album, like a lot of people go, "Oh, that sounds like this." Well, that's not what this. You can hear at times in even in a note. Like Leo will do something like, "Ooh, that's a Dream Theater note," or you're playing something, Parker. I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's an Iron Maiden dueling guitar type of thing," but it's not. It's your own thing. And and people, so I'm describing you guys because I've texted about 100 different fucking people. I'm like, okay, just found my favorite new heavy metal band ever, and I'm like, okay, Queensryche meets Halloween meets a dash of Dream Theater in there, and what was the third one? I can't remember at the moment because
Well, we were saying
and a little bit of Iron Maiden, but
and Crimson Glory even.
Yeah, and it's not copying anything. It's like, oh, nice nod. You know what I mean? Because everyone's a student. Like when you hear Clapton, that's a Muddy Water note. When you hear whatever, I'm like, oh, not, you're not doing their thing, you're doing your thing, but you're saying thank you kind of at the same time. But it's all your own sound. It's not their sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I did the review for Metal Temple, as you guys know, I'm sure you read it, I hesitated to mention any band comparisons in there because I thought it would do an injustice to you guys, because I didn't want people to go, oh, another Maiden sounding band or another Queensryche sounding. Because you guys did have some of that in there, like Vince said, but you created your own sound and own personality in this album.
I'm glad you guys are you see that, because that was the goal. And it's we're not trying to just copy one or two bands, and it is stuff like we love bands like Maiden and Priest and Queensryche. Like that's like a lot of the foundation from this, but it's deeper than that. It's why we have stuff from here, this, that, and we get a lot of band comparisons because we have so many influences. But yeah, that's what it is. It's we're trying to we're just doing our own thing. We're not trying to emulate anybody too much, Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the album. So track 1, Liar in Love. So I've got some notes here for your album. Strong vocal right out of the bat. Love the double guitar work on this album. I also like the heavy hitting drummer that is on display here is phenomenal. Great vocal phrasing, Leo. You have one of the clearest voices. You don't trail off on the ends. You don't cheat your audience. You actually give them the respect of giving them the full word in every syllable. And a lot of people who don't sing won't know that, but people who sing will get that. You know what I mean? Nice vocal blending, a nod to Reich. I have said wow 4 times before the guitar solo that unfolds naturally with the bass kicking the pocket. I mean, like literally, you know how long it's been since I'm listening to something like, wow, like what? I'm like, oh my God. Then, boom. I'll be like freaking out over a note Parker hits, and then I'm freaking out because Leo's right there behind you, giving the fucking right hook to his left cross. I'm so excited for your band, man. As you can tell, like you guys, like you've given me hope.
That's really warming me up in this cold environment.
Well, hey, I'm from Chicago. Fred's from Chicago, so I can understand why the Midwest loves your band. The whole world should love your band. But Fred, you got anything to say on Liar in Love?
Yeah, I think I said it right in the my review. Was 45 seconds in, I was blown away.
Yeah.
And it reminded me, and I don't hate to bring this up, but it did remind me of the first time I heard Queen of the Reich by Queensryche when I first put that on. And I like to say drop the needle. I know that we're
Right.
all digital right now, but I still
Well,
like to say
it's
drop
that
the needle.
feeling, you know, that first,
Yeah.
you know.
And as soon as I heard it, I mean, I literally stopped and said, "Am I really hearing this? Is this that freaking good?" And I just prayed. I said, "Please let the next 9 songs be just as good." And my prayer was
Right.
answered because they were. And you had me 45 seconds of that opening. You come in Parker and then Leo, boom. It just, I can't even explain the feeling I got. How good that first song and the rest of the album was, of course.
Yeah, so here's me in the first 10 seconds. Click, play. Da-da-da-da. What? Cranked it up, and I didn't leave my seat for, you know, the next 45 minutes. You know, just
That's great. As a fun little side note on that song is that song was actually pretty much finished in a different version initially, and it was called something else, and the lyrics were entirely different, and we actually decided to kind of rewrite it. And yeah, that's kind of how we came to do it afterwards.
And it was the last thing that we completed. And I guess, I mean, even though it had come from a project that we had started earlier, it was like the last thing that we wrote in the process of writing this album, and then it became the first track on the album. So it's kind of interesting.
Right. Yeah. You know,
Story.
it's those happy mistakes that aren't mistakes. You know what I mean? There's a reason why you wrote, you know. So, okay, so we go into Fall in Line. Now, most of your, dude, and kudos to you guys for writing 5-minute long songs. You know, a lot of people just can't. And you guys are like, yeah, here comes another one. You know. And so Fall in Line, here's my note. What the actual fuck sauce? Sorry, gotta go rock out. I'm rocking out, you know, 54-year-old man in my living room going, you know, fuck you. You know, unbelievable. I mean, it's, you know, people who aren't music fans don't understand when you hear something that just, you know, like I couldn't be more happier to find your album through Fred. So he's got shit given rights for the next 20 years. Yeah, I gave you Wings of Steel.
I gave you Wings of Steel. I will call that trump card every time I can.
Right, right. Okay, what do you guys say about Fall in Line?
It's a cool song actually. It's definitely you know, that like that faster and more apparent metal and heavier kind of thing is it's definitely present on this song.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things, and it is like, it is cool. It kind of has more of a progressive element. It goes through a couple different phases, and you know, has a cool little solo and everything. But yeah, I think the thing that's cool is lyrically actually is there's a very you can draw a lot of deeper meaning. I mean, you can pretty much every song on the album actually is like this, but there's a lot of depth in the lyrics, and it says it can say a lot of different things to a lot of different people depending on how you see it. But I think it has a really really cool kind of message hidden in there.
And it's one of those songs where it's, the music itself is very in your face, very aggressive. So kind of wanted to emphasize that with the vocal as well. So not only try and sing it in an aggressive way, but get that emotion behind it. Because at the end of the day, it's all about projecting that emotion. That's right. That's what really is going to cut it. And just like you said, where, you know, you sing through the words and stuff like that, you cannot project full emotion unless you actually, you know, deliver the entire message. And
Right.
I think we do that well musically and lyrically, vocally in that song.
Yeah, and you guys, unlike a lot of other bands, are actually storytellers.
Right. That's a huge point right there, and it's one of those things. If it doesn't come from the right place, it's not gonna be consumed in the proper way, and you're not gonna get the goosebumps.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Moving on to Garden of Eden, magnum opus. Some spooky riffs starting out. Really dug that because I wasn't expecting that at all. Nice groove. Really cool vocal layering in that song. Some really cool, you know, you got some highs in the background creeping you out in the right way. Guitars are amazing. And then you start rolling into this faster groove with on fire guitar solos, and this song is very zigzag. It hits you this way, and you move over here, and then you go, and then you're, so it's a nice journey in this song. And when I saw him like 10 minutes 39 seconds, I'm like, wow. And you guys pulled it off. You know what I mean? Amazingly.
Yeah, man. Well, I'll say on that one really quick. It's we have we're talking about a lot of this different influences and inspirations we have, and like the blues is definitely one of them. So
yeah,
we one of the sometimes when we start writing a song, we'll give it like a working title or whatever until we figure out what the name of the song is, and we called this one Blucifer because it just seemed like a very like sinister and like evil blues.
Yeah.
We just wanted to do something that was like super slow, because the obvious thing to do in metal is to just keep going faster. So we're like, no, let's do the opposite.
Right.
Let's go really.
Yeah, like I'm a metalhead at heart, but I live in the blues area. Like that's my daily. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I'm 40-second walk from a blues bar from my house. I live a half block off of Muddy Waters Boulevard. Mm-hmm. Love music. And, I probably listen to blues and metal the same amount. You know what I mean? But I came up with jazz and big band stuff. I had all these different musical influences. The great thing about players from Europe is they have appreciation for music. It's not genrefied. They get it. You know what I mean? And that's one thing I wish the American audiences would actually latch on to at some point. But, your music files do, but like the general audience just doesn't, what's the next thing? But you can literally tell that there's like education behind your songs that you're writing.
I think, it's that kind of life experience kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and just a very good dynamic relationship between me and Parker when it comes to songwriting. We bring out the best in each other when it comes to our creative kind of create on the spot, really.
Yeah, I mean it's just expression. We're not trying to fit into a mold or achieve any goals per se, like in that sense. So yeah, we want to write. If we're like, yeah, we want to write this song, we'll go do that.
And that's the beautiful thing, because we get to do that, and
Right.
then we get amazing guys like you two who freaking appreciate it and fucking love it, and there is no greater feeling than that.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's, I tell the truth and I'm blunt as hell. And if it's great, I'm going to tell you it's great. I have no problem telling you that, because you need to hear that, because that's why you're doing it. You guys always have a home here. You got a new video coming out. Bring it on here. We'll gladly debut it. Got whatever. You're welcome forever on this show, because yeah. So we'll go
you guys are really cool. I dig you guys. You're awesome.
Thanks, man. We appreciate it. So we go to Fred. You got anything to say on?
Just that being a heavy metal guy, and that's all I listen to. I'm not a blues, jazz, or anything like Vince is more expounded on that. But usually when a metal band does blues, I kind of like, why are they doing a blues song? But I gotta tell you, Garden of Eden just had me. It never lost me. I loved it. Even though it's a bluesy, funky song, I still absolutely loved it. And you just whatever you did to it, man, it was just awesome.
Yeah, like I had a good friend of mine who's a guitar player, fantastic. He could play everything note for note, Randy Rhoads, whoever, blah, blah, blah. Couldn't write his own music, and he refused to listen to the blues. I'm like, dude, if you're a guitar player, that's where it starts, And then once you get through all that, then go to jazz and figure that out, because that's a whole different thing. But, he's like, why would I need to know what the blues are as a guitar player? I'm like, because that's where all the feeling comes from. I mean, that's the root of it all, But anyway.
Yes, if it doesn't start there, it will inevitably end up there.
Right. And I even got Fred to go to a blues bar with me.
Yeah, well, he prompted me with beer, but yeah, he got me. And I know everything comes from blues, and my friends are like, how could you not like the blues? I been a metalhead since I was 14, and that's all I listen to. I got tunnel vision when it comes to that.
Nothing wrong
I
with
think
that.
the biggest thing with the blues, it's not necessarily the the swing or any tempo or anything like that. It's more so soulfully where it comes from, and you can
the
get
integrity.
you can get that in any genre, really. It's just that's where it really started to blossom initially.
Right.
So that's why it translates so well to heavy metal or any other genre, really, because
Right.
as long as it comes from there, it's quote unquote bluesy.
I've said this a few times on the show. It's like, okay, the reason why, let's say Van Halen, for instance, stood out from all the other bands at the time, everyone was blues influenced, and they were influenced by big band boogie boogie and jazz, and that's what set them apart. It's that easy. They had that sensibility growing up, and that's what was ingrained in their musical genes. But anyway, so moving on to Cry of the Damned, your only 3-minute and 31-second song. Starts with the kick in the teeth. Great, straightforward rock, and background vocals are a bit different on the song than previous. I love the vocal melody going on here. The drummer is fucking working it. Great fucking song. Load up the car. Time for a road trip. Ending vocal night. Dude, you're sick, Leo. That is the end note, man. I was like, yes! And then my son, 22 years old, comes in. I'm like, hey, this is about 20 minutes before the show. I'm like, hey, Seth, come over here. And like, I've taken to Queensryche, he's met all the guys from Queensryche and all that stuff. And he's brought up as a metal kid. And I'm like, listen to this. And he's like, what the fuck, Dad? He's like, that's like true fucking metal. He's like, oh my God. And he was like freaking out. He had to go. Otherwise I was going to have him pop in for a few seconds. But yeah. So everyone I've showed this to is like, what? So it's a really good, I hope you guys are getting this kind of feedback from the world.
No, I mean, a lot of really great feedback on it. So but it is really cool to see though, because it's, I mean, at the end of the day, we're just sitting here, and we're just writing this music, and it's it's like we said, we're just taking a shit, man. It's just having fun, and then it's like, oh my God, like it's it's out there and it's released, and there's all these people who are so like connecting with it, and like it's like, holy shit, that's awesome,
right? Yeah, because people have been waiting for this album, like seriously, like you didn't look for something and fill a niche. That was something people have been waiting for, and now it's here. So everyone's like, spread the word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well,
and Vince is so right, because I've been reviewing albums now for a while, Metal Temple, and I always get these albums, and I just waited for something like this to come along, and when it fell into my lap last week, I was like, thank God, because there's a lot of good stuff out there. I'm not poo-pooing it. There's a lot of good stuff out there.
Right.
There was just nothing phenomenal like this that I could say, oh my God, every song. When that 10th song ended, I was like, damn it, I want 10 more. That was that good.
Right. Like I'm telling Fred on the phone, I'm like, it's kind of like that, it's that cheesy line, when you meet that hot chick at the bar, where have you been all my life? Like we've been waiting for this for decades. Like seriously, us older guys, we've been waiting, and thanks for making this album. So on to She Cries, 5 minutes, 50 seconds. Lower register in the singing, great in the intro. The band is strong on every aspect. The vocals are out of this fucking world. Again, great dueling guitar work. Second half of the songs, second half of the song, the beat is tons of fun. Always a fan of big ass jams inside songs. That's something that's missing.
Right, yes.
Like everyone loves that 20 seconds where you can, with your best buddy, if you can't sing or play, you're just like, yeah, And that's what I've always loved about every great heavy metal song has that.
Absolutely. And dude, bring back the jamming, man. That's something me and Parker, we talked about a lot. When we get the chance to play our longer sets, man, this 6-minute song is going to be a 19-minute song. It's going to be a fuckload of fun.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll say something on She Cries really quick too. We played a show. It was kind of like a release party show for this album. We played at the Vibe Room back in May. And nice. I remember during that song specifically, there was a guy out there who was like kind of towards the back, he didn't really look like he was the kind of person who was into metal. But I just remember when we were playing that section, and that dude just like started going crazy, man. It was like,
it's very beautiful when you can have one song where you see a person in the audience, she starts to cry, and then 3.5 minutes later, she's fucking headbanging her hair off. You know, that's so beautiful.
Yeah. I did Johnny Cash American at the Viper Room. That was pretty cool. Really cool room, man. It's got an interesting history. You can feel it in there. You know, you can almost feel it in the air. The air's a little greasy, but not really. You know what I mean? But
we made it a little greasy.
Okay, number 6, Lady of the Lost at 5 minutes and 18 seconds. I love fake starts in songs. I love breaks in songs. So you guys are hitting every box that what I enjoy in a metal song or a song in general. A lot of people don't do breaks. They don't understand it. Let the song breathe. You don't need to jam every little second with stuff. Sometimes that in between stuff is the best. You know what I mean? That's why I like Anthrax. You know, how many songs have fake starts in Anthrax songs, you know? Devil That You Know, I think is the last one they did. So, nice story song. Oops, sorry. Starts to kick in the key. Background vocals are a bit different. Wait, am I doing it? Yeah. Yeah, great. Hold on a second. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. She cries. Sorry. Again, great doing guitar with. Yeah. You guys know that we need that jam. Sorry, I got lost. But yeah, like that jam out period is so important because that's when the crowd goes wild, man. You know? And a lot of times, like, people will do it, and you're like, oh, you know, it's like coming early. You're like, oh, you know, it's like, no, man. You know, like if they would have just done that for 5 more seconds, you know, people would have loved that song 10 times more. You know what I mean? But you guys, there's nothing missing from your songs, and it's just all the right ingredients. You know, I'm just amazed.
I'll add to that note too, actually, because this is kind of an important thing in our music is we really try to write everything with like with playing it live in mind, because even though, like, you know, and I'll say like something that's kind of different about our band versus, you know, bands back in the 70s and 80s is that at least the, you know, the story they tell you is that they would all get into a room together and they would you have all 4 or 5 guys there, and then they'd all be able to hash it out, and then they get a song. With me and Leo, we're basically able to do that process with just the 2 of us. So, you know, we don't need to have the drummer or the bass player or the other guitar player around to get any of that done. But the point being is you know, we write everything with playing it live in mind.
Right on.
Try not to get too carried away into like production and putting 30,000 layers of instruments, because you're not going to be able to do that live.
Yeah, and I mean that's how you come up with fun sections too, man. Like you mentioned the intro to like Lady of the Lost, when you do the fake starts, the stops and shit like that. It's like, oh, that would be an epic crowd moment and stuff like that. Because like, what do I appreciate when I go and watch a metal show?
Right.
Well, what do I like to do? I like to scream my ass off as soon as I get a chance to, you know?
Yeah.
And, so,
because during that break live, it's going to be a call and recall thing. Da-da-da-da, and everyone's like, ah, and then you do the next one, and it builds
it's
up.
all
And
about,
that's
like,
funny. I got lost in Lady of the Lost, so I guess I'm the Lady of the Lost. But yeah, it said, now we rocked your face. Now sit back for the knockout punch. I mean, this song is, dude, you guys are like, I'm so impressed. And usually, you know, there's, you know, you guys are totally humble. You know what you're doing. The production on this, you guys did a great job. I mean, beyond, you know, I can hear the little things, and sure, other people may have touched knobs and stuff, but in order to get that uniformity across the whole album, like there's no dips. Like you guys are consistent, and that's so important. And it sounds like it's your 8th album. You know what I mean? It sounds like, you know, like you guys have been around for fucking 25 years and, okay, how's this one? Because we know what we're doing. You know what I mean? And that's amazing in your first album. I mean, it really is. And I'm going to get all these comments. Oh, why don't you stick your tongue further up their ass? And it's like, no, great album's a great album. And, you know, a lot of us have been waiting, like I said, decades for this. Fred, you got anything to say on Lady of the Lost?
Your notes are a hell of a lot more detailed than mine. I just got just a
It's because I
heavy,
smoked
deep
pot, Fred.
sound.
Yeah.
Heavy, deep sound, and that one probably had the most Dio-ish feel to it. But yeah, that's just that nice, heavy, deep sound.
Oh yeah. So then we go to Leather and Lace, which is the first song that I heard in the YouTube thing, that list that I had when I clicked your album. Nice groove to pull you in, lower register growling vocals. I love that. Then they switch into high octane vocals, rocking this blues-based rolling groove. Phrasing, again, amazing and essential. No drop off in articulation of lyrics. Guitar's perfect. Rhythm section is thumping. Solos are insane. Really good. Not showing off. And it fits perfectly with proficiency. Like, you guys are already, you're master carpenters, like you know how to craft a song. A lot of people can play. A lot of people can't play with feeling, but to get a band that can do that and knows how to write a song and understands why each section of the song or each breathing point or each transition is important is rare today, because everyone's, we'll just take this and swap it over here at the computer and then we'll get this beat and da 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 da. It's really refreshing. You know what I mean? That's why I'm making such a big deal out of it.
Yeah, I think Leather and Lace was actually it was a fun one, because that's one of the songs where we're like, let's try and do something here, because what we say is normally we just kind of let what comes out come out, right? And have this little thing, this bluesy sounding thing, and obviously we've heard a lot of the 80s rock, 80s metal era, right, and songs that are similar to that, and we've never written a song like that, and we did want to know how we would sound writing one of those. So I think that was probably the quickest one we did. I think we wrote and recorded that one in 2 days.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and then that was said and done, and we listened to it and we're like, "Fuck yeah, this is fun," So yeah,
it's pretty straight to the point. And yeah, I'll say too, like, we try to keep everything organic, especially nowadays with all the the Pro Tools and Logic Pro and all the software that's out there. You can move all this stuff. You can computerize. It's such a mechanical thing, and the problem with doing that, and then you go and you pitch shift and you time shift and you make everything perfect. Like, the problem with doing that is you lose all the feeling. Right. And if you ask me if there's anything that I think is missing in, not all, but at least a lot of modern music. I mean, especially if you listen to what's on the radio, but even with a lot of metal bands, like, they're just syncing everything up and they're pitch correcting and they're making everything. It sounds like a fucking machine, Right. And here's the thing, like, it's all art. Like, it's like, I'm not, I know we're talking about metal, but if you look at like a DJ or something, like, he's not using anything that he's playing, or and I get it, like, from that stance, it's still art, but I mean, this is metal music, man, and like the feeling and the expression is important, and you lose that when you get too mechanical with things.
Right. They remove the human from the human element of the songwriting.
Yes.
What winds up happening. They lose the spontaneity.
Yeah.
So
that's why, even though if you look at like my playing and even Leo's singing, like, we leave a bunch of technical, like, wrong notes and fucked up shit in there, but that's because it makes it real, and it's like, you don't have to do as many takes, you just get it, it's raw. There's the feeling is there, the emotions are great.
You only know the perfection in terms of in relation to the imperfection. So slide over it and embrace it. If you're able to embrace it and turn it into something instead of avoiding it, and boom, you got a way bigger toolbox and a way of expressing yourself, whether that's on the guitar, on your vocal, or whatever art.
Right. And one of the things, Leo, that I like about you, that I really enjoy about your singing, is a lot of people would stop at that, whatever that is that everyone's enjoying, and people are enjoying it, and then you kind of wink at them and you do you either curve the note that's coming next and you go even higher, and it's like, fuck yeah, you know what I mean? Like, you give them that extra thing, and just like you, Parker, you'll come in with you think the guitar solo's done, and then you're like I was just walking around talking to myself, listening to your album, like my hands are going up, and like what a great reaction, and thanks, man, because music is the best healer, and people need music, and I'm glad that we're turning on people to your, music as much as we can, because holy crap.
Thank you. We appreciate that. And I mean, I think it's one of those things when you see the full story instead of seeing it phrase by phrase, there is no natural stop to it. It will live its own life.
Right. Like if if I were to produce a band today, I'd be like, okay, we're going to record on 2-inch tape and then send it to the computer. But what you guys are going to do, you're all going to sit in one fucking room and you got 3 takes. You know what I mean? Now the pressure's on. Do your job. You know what I mean? Because I feel a lot of the times, oh, well, I can always fix that. No.
Wouldn't that be nice if everyone always showed up and they were prepared?
Yeah. Just go and do it. And, you don't need to, that's what makes, like in Black Dog by Led Zeppelin in the beginning, jing, 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 hey, hey, mom. And then jing, jing, jing. Because someone spilled coffee on the tape, that is now the intro. And that's what makes the song, because someone spilled a cup of coffee.
I didn't know that. That's cool, actually.
Yeah. Okay, so then we go to Slave of Sorrows. Nice rolling guitar picking chords there, Parker. I'm like, oh, okay. They're really good at letting the and not over the stuff in the hands. My favorite vocal style is the heavy metal. Over a handful of it off one the guitar solo is not fire. None of the songs anything. Everything fits tightly. Major props to the production team on this album. Fuck. Yeah, you guys did a great job in throwing it down, because a lot of people, just because they play, think they can record and they can't. So you guys also have a great ear.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Vince. I think I lost you for most of your notes there. I couldn't really hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Cut out or something. Yeah.
Okay, it says nice roll guitar picking there. Really good at letting the music breathe and not overstuffing the landscape. This is my favorite vocal style within heavy metal, and only a handful of people can pull it off, much less master it, like on display here. The guitar solo is on fucking fire. None of their songs have yet lacked anything or overdone anything. Everything fits tightly. Major props to the production team on this album. Fuck. So
it's a great vocalist who does those the epic choruses. You got to dig a little deeper for them. But Bruce Dickinson, I know Parker showed me a song called Eternal, where it's just this massive ass goddamn vocal chorus. And yeah, it's you really feel that. It comes from the right place. I keep saying that, but that's all it is,
Right. Yeah. You got to have something behind it. You just can't be a technical. People think, oh, I can do this and I can. Well, you'll be able to sing, but you won't be able to sing.
You can be a technician or a musician,
Right.
And I'll say on this song too, I think that's cool, is that especially with Leo, and then us being in a band. The band's called Wings of Steel. You hear the song Wings of Steel, you hear Fall in Line, you hear all that stuff that's just up there the whole time. Like the thing that's so cool about the song like this is like we get to use different parts of his range, because the thing is
right.
With a lot of these metal guys, they just think you're up here the whole time.
Right.
But a guy like Leo, he has a great lower range too.
Right.
So, and there's a lot of cool stuff that we can kind of do with that. So this song was just a great place for us to make use of that.
Yeah, like back in the day, I had 4 octaves and a falsetto. But
damn, bro.
Yeah, and I haven't sang in, I've sung a couple of times in the past 20 years. But we're going to be doing an album hopefully next year to raise money for suicide awareness. I lost my brother to suicide. This is why I do the podcast. Music is the great healer. So I may have to hit Leo up for some vocal lessons. I hear you're doing some vocal teaching, because you'd be the dude to learn from, man.
Yeah, I did actually just fire that up. So I would be more than happy to have you and your 4 octaves, my friend.
Right on. Because a lot of there's no strain when you sing, and talking. Listen to this note, okay? Like I'm explaining to my son, listen. I'm like, he's not even trying yet, and that's from knowing your instrument. And vocal singing is different than any other because it's organic, it's within you. It's a different beast altogether. You're in great shape. You're probably hydrated. When I came up, everyone was dehydrated. Doing all types of crap, and like then belting it out, and not. If you took a vocal lesson back then, people were like, "What?" Oh, the smart people will take vocal lessons so they can keep their voice.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta just drop all that rock and roll stigma, honestly, man. It's about the music, that's what rock and roll is all about. But it is funny, like vocal, it is a little bit different. I found the best way to to make it work for anyone out there is just to experiment and take mental note on what feels good, what does not feel good. Don't judge anything, and just build it up like that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we go to track 10, Into the Sun. Cool intro, church bell, and the bangle. I love the bangle. Are those bangles, or is that a tambourine?
It's like a tambourine, and the tambourine has like a delay on it. So
okay, that was pretty cool. Yeah, got a Egyptian kind of vibe going on there. Maiden influence, but in their own sound. Vocals are stellar, great production. The band is firing on more cylinders than most great bands. Many influence can be felt in their interpretation, and it's all good. Great songwriting, and the arrangement was really well done. Already a new favorite metal band, and I'm on track fucking 3. So that was my third song that I heard, and like already you guys are my new favorite metal band because you said everything within 10 minutes that I wanted to fucking hear. You know what I mean? And that's a lot. And to pull that off, you're obviously, we wish you nothing but the best. And, so what's going on for 2023 and 2024? What you guys got going on?
Well, first, you skipped track number 9.
Oh, shit. Did I? Thank you.
Gates of Twilight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm old. Oh,
I didn't even realize, bro.
Sorry, because it's on another thing. Because I this is my YouTube listen. Yeah, sorry. Okay, so yeah, Gates of Twilight. My note is sorry. Rock the fuck out. Amazing song. There is 0 fat on this album, and that's my note on that. Absolutely, it's stellar album, guys. I mean, you guys should be extremely proud of what you've done. It's people are gonna love this album. All they do is need to hear it one time.
Thank you. And like we are extremely proud of our album. Any musician who puts out music, if you don't appreciate your own work, then I don't know what you're doing it for. It obviously isn't meant to be, but yeah, dude, we really appreciate hearing it. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you real quick too, guys. Since you obviously know Vince and I absolutely love this album and kissing your ass, which you deserve it because the album is great. I know you guys met in 2019 when you were studying music. What was your thought of each other when you first met? How in awe, Parker, were you of Leo's singing? And Leo, how in awe were you of Parker's playing?
Well, I think it may have been a little more down to earth than that, but we were going to this music school and we had thought, oh yeah, there'll be a bunch of rocker people there, and like we're like the only 2 dudes walking around there. So it was kind of just like, hey man, you want to start some, write some music or something? And it's like, yeah. And it's like, do you know the band? Like, yeah, like what kind of music? I'm like, do you know like Blue Murder and Whitesnake? And he's like, yeah. I was like, cool. Because up to that point, I hadn't met anybody in my life who those bands were, just because my generation doesn't know this shit, So
right.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Like,
So
Tony Franklin is. Let's start a band, man. John Sykes. Fuck yeah, right, dude.
Right. And that's how it is. And that's and we've tried to make our music shows like the vibe we used to get in the record store in the late 80s, where everyone would rush over there on Friday night after you got off work, threw something down your throat for dinner. You'd go to the record store and you'd be showing people, oh, here's King Diamond, here's fucking Nuclear Assault, here's and you'd spend the next 2.5 hours every Friday just hanging out and sharing. you know, and it's become a weird thing that people don't seem to do that anymore. So that's the vibe that seems to have been created, and I couldn't be happier with that. And this is why, so we could share music like yours, man. I
Yeah, absolutely.
can't say enough about it, you know. But
it's awesome. It's really like for us, it's really I guess fulfilling. It's really amazing just to see like, you know, like something that we just created. It's going out and it's just bringing so much positivity and light into the world, and it's
Right.
awesome. You know, it's great.
Yeah, and you guys look great. You're in shape. You write great songs. There's no reason why you shouldn't be the biggest metal band in the fucking world. Seriously. So, you know, all my friends in the business, take a listen to these guys. Put them on your tour. Call them.
Yeah.
Hire them. Buy their music. Buy
We
their
will
merch.
spread the word. We will spread the word.
Absolutely. Fred, you got anything to say, brother, before we call it a day?
No, I just wanted to say it was a privilege and an honor to review this album, and I'm glad I did, because like Vince said, man, we've been waiting for an album like this for a long, long time. You can see behind me Queensryche and Michael Schenker, so you kind of know where I'm at. You guys are going up there. And I downloaded the whole album the other day. It's on my playlist, and I'm going to listen to it again every day until album number 2 comes out, guys, and I'll be anxiously awaiting.
Oh, man, we'll be first in line to review it, first in line to have you on. And anytime you guys want to come out, if you got anything going on you want to promote, if you're doing a festival or whatever, come on. We'd love to have you on, man. You are now family. You're part of the pod family here. Talented men.
Here,
And we hope that you, man, we hope you can make an album every year for the next 25 years, because we'll be listening.
Man, that's the dream, man. That's the dream.
Absolutely. So rock on, Parker. Rock on, Leo. Thank you very much, Fred.
thank you, guys.
See you next time. And that's
Absolutely.